Good day, everybody. This is Yin Yang with Morsels of a Thought number 1628. We are in Not Your Mother's Rules today. I hope to give you morsels of a thought of wisdom every morning with saying good day because there are some of you in Australia and some of you in Europa. And I thought that I would give you pieces of wisdom, morsels of a thought that would give you wisdom because knowing the right things to do is a form of wisdom, and then actually doing the right things is called virtue. So after I get the hair out of cat hair, I will be reading to you from Ellen Fein and Sherrie Schneider, now with their daughters too. The New Secrets for Dating. Ellen Fein and Sherrie Schneider are the New York Times best-selling authors of The Rules. The Rules was a classic when it came out, and it gave the world a revolution in dating. Now, I'm going to put it over here because I think it'll stand on its own. Chances are high. Yes, it will. Thank goodness. And I still have this something on my lip. Goodness gracious. Sorry. Okay, my name is Yin Yang. I'm broadcasting from California. It is currently 6:15 or something this AM, and I want to read to you something about dating. We talk about women dating men, but actually the rules handbook is all about creating loving and lasting relationships. This book is a must read by everybody, including men, because you can make people understand you better and want more of you instead of less of you if you leave earlier than they do, if you end the call before they do, if you finish the meeting before they expect you to. And it's because that way they want more of you rather than getting tired of you. So rather than getting tired of me, I want to read to you now. Don't date indefinitely without a commitment. That's rule number 30 in Not Your Mother's Rules, the New Secrets for Dating. If you're in college or graduate school or have been dating someone casually or for just a few months, this chapter may not apply to you. But at a certain point in your life, you're no longer interested in relationships just for fun and entertainment. You want love and commitment. And why shouldn't you? Why spend Saturday nights and holidays alone when you can spend them with a significant other who gets you and wants to be with you? Okay, I'm convinced. I'm convinced. I want a boyfriend. Ah, well, a committed person, not necessarily a boyfriend, because that's not in my age group anymore. They're not called boys anymore in my age group, right? Even if you are, the authors say, even if you are not looking to get married right now, you still want to be in a relationship that isn't a waste of your time. You should be subtly looking for clues about whether the guy sees a future so you are not blindsided if he decides he doesn't want to be exclusive or doesn't propose. Has he said, I don't want to see anyone else? Did he change his profile to say in a relationship on Facebook and or post photos of both of you together or as his default photo? Has he used the word love? Has he invited you to be at a date? Has he invited you to be his date at a wedding or mentioned his nieces or nephews? All these are signs that he is serious about you and you might be headed for the altar one day. Yeah. Conversely, when your friend gets engaged, does he get awkward or quiet? Does he comment negatively on his friends' relationships that seem serious? Does he pose broad and confusing questions such as, what is love? Or what's so great about marriage? Does he avoid talking about the future? When a client's relationship is not working out, one of the first questions we ask in a consultation is, does he mention the M word? Most times the answer is no. The M word is marriage, like the rules for marriage, time tested secrets for making your marriage work. Most times the answer is no. He will happily talk about cars, sports, current events, anything but marriage? If that is the case with your guy, don't be surprised if he doesn't want to be exclusive or ultimately doesn't want to marry you. This cavalier attitude about commitment is especially prevalent in college, where most guys are not interested in a long term relationship. They just want to be they just want to study, have fun, and try new things like being with a blonde, a brunette, and a redhead in the same semester. Even guys who are shy and not players are not looking to settle down at 20 or 22. Assuming the guy you are dating is saying all the right things, how do you get him to commit? So, if it's a rules relationship, it should not be painful for him to commit. He should be happy about it. He loves you and wants to spend the rest of his life with you, right? You just have to help him start the rest of his life, quote, end quote. If it was a rules beginning, he spoke to you first or contacted you through your online dating profile, but then you broke rules, hung out with him constantly and texted him at all hours or even lived with him in my case. He may not be so eager to make it official because he is getting all the benefits of marriage without a ring and a wedding. If that is the case, you need to pull back so that he feels like he is losing you before you lower the boom and bring up the future. Get busy at work. Go away for a weekend with your girlfriends or text him back progressively less quickly. If it was never a rules relationship, then it just may never work out in the end. In any case, the only way to find out is to ask him. Um, you may know about my past relationships, and yes, I have been married, and yes, I have done a few steps of the rules the right way, and I have done many of the steps of the rules in the wrong way. And one of the men I dated was interested in marriage, so he would constantly come up to me and he was very gentle with me, and you could tell he was interested. I just wasn't interested in him. Anyway, in Morsels of a Thought of Wisdom, we are trying to give you some ideas on the right things to do so that you have wisdom and virtue. Virtue is doing the right things. So here we are in 1628 in California. I'm reading from Not Your Mother's Rules by Ellen Fein and Sherrie Schneider, the mavens about dating and relationships and marriages, and about creating loving and lasting relationships. Back to Not Your Mother's Rules on page 219. Some women are aghast when we suggest they're asking a guy's intentions. They argue, isn't that aggressive? Or shouldn't love be love? Or I thought saying that wasn't the rules. Others are simply afraid to find out the answer. But it's fine, really. If you ask and your boyfriend changes the subject, gets irritated, or says that it's a bad time and he can't commit because of work issues or finances, then you might have to tell him that you're old fashioned and don't believe in dating forever. If he still rattles off excuses, suggest taking a break. Tell him to think about it on his own time and call you when he is ready to commit. So don't go out with him. Be no contact unless he calls about commitment or a date. Rules girls do not suggest couples counseling. In fact, when he asks you for a date, you just say, "Oh, yeah, I'd like to do. Oh, shoot, I can't." You know, and make it so that he knows he has to talk to you about trying to commit. Rules girls do not suggest couples counseling. We simply disappear and give him all the space he wants until he misses us enough to propose or not. The truth is that a guy usually knows in the first few dates if he can see himself marrying you or not. The rest of the relationship is just a lot of details. It's like that. It's like I've done everything I can, and if I get something better, it's just gravy on top of the meatloaf. If it's meatloaf, if it's roast beef, fine, better, ribeye, steak. On the other hand, if he happily alludes to future plans but doesn't say anything specific, When can you expect him to when can you expect him to propose, and what should you do until then? Women can go crazy during this waiting period between getting a verbal commitment and getting the ring. They really want to push things along and have little patience and high tension. Their boyfriends have the power to make them a missus or send them back to match.com. We get that it's stressful. We get it. Our suggestion is to diplomatically ask him what his time frame is. We typically tell clients to say, I've been enjoying our time together, but was just wondering what your intentions are and what your timetable is like. If he says, don't worry, we'll get engaged soon, then how much time do you give him to wrap it up? We can't tell you how many women have contacted us to say their boyfriend proposed, but without a ring, or now won't set a wedding date. It's still all very vague. We tell them to give the guy 6 months to a year to produce a ring and figure out the logistics. Now, some guys that are players uh, can pretend that they are committed to two girls at once. So even the ring isn't enough. You've got to get a wedding date. And even then, you got to see if he really sticks to it. Okay? So here we are, back to the book. Okay. We tell them to give the guy 6 months to a year to produce a ring and figure out the logistics. Of course, this time frame may feel like an eternity to a woman who has nothing on her finger, but it's just one more time a rules girl has to practice restraint. Remember, guys often want to propose in their own way. Women must let them. When I was at Union Square in San Francisco, I don't know who I was with, but I was with somebody, and we were just standing there talking, and in the dark, at the twilight, there was a man who got on his knee in front of a big statue, fountain, or tree. I can't remember which. Oh, it was a statue, and it was lighted a little bit. And he got on his knee, and a few strangers were standing close to them, and they all stopped, and she said yes, and the strangers over there went yay and cheered, and then they all took pictures with him. I wasn't that interested in taking pictures with a guy that has just proposed to somebody else. So but I recall this was interesting. Guys like to propose in their own way, so she had apparently let him, so that's a good thing. So you don't say, when are you gonna propose? 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 No, 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 no. Don't bring up stone cuts, settings, or any ring talks until he asks. If you push too hard, he will feel that you just want the ring or the wedding, not him. But if our suggested year-long waiting period comes and goes and you still have no ring, you might have to break up with him. Rules girls are not gold diggers, but we are not doormats either. See, when you break up with him, it means you're telling him, I'm sorry that it didn't work out, but you took a little too long. And oftentimes, they're going to tell you that when you break up with them, sometimes they beg you to come back to get married. So that's the key here, is getting them to move along after that many years together. Sorry about my lip, actually. Alyssa, 30, contacted the authors to help get her boyfriend of 3 years to commit. It was a rules beginning, but she regularly saw him 5 times a week, accompanied him on 6 different week-long vacations, and texted him often. He was in no rush to get married. He kept moving back the date he would propose, from Memorial Day to Labor Day weekend and to his birthday and then her birthday. We were obviously skeptical. She stopped seeing him so much for a few weeks so he had a chance to miss her, and then nicely told him, I'm old fashioned. I don't know if I can see you anymore without a ring and a wedding date. He told her he had commitment issues stemming from his parents' messy divorce and didn't know when he would be ready. He suggested they do couples counseling, but still wasn't ready, even after 8 sessions. We told her, next. After she broke up with him, he quickly emailed her to ask where he should send her things and then never contacted her again. She was crushed. It was a painful lesson and a long one to learn, but Alyssa agreed never to spend so much time with a guy again. Wow. So in Not Your Mother's Rules, the new secrets for dating, and now with their daughters too, Ellen Fein and Sherrie Schneider have pointed out a lot of things that are how to do, how to date, how to wait, how not to wait. Okay? On a happier note, say the authors, April, 35, who was dating her boyfriend for 2.5 years, now has a ring and a wedding date. Her divorced boyfriend was talking about the future only in general terms. She had asked him many times when they would get married, and he said that he couldn't think about it right then because of the economy and, quote, things going on with his ex and two young children, end quote. Ooh. She contacted us because she wanted to know if he was serious or stringing her along. And the authors have heard thousands of stories and they've dealt with thousands of people. Anyway, we put her on a 3-month plan of seeing him less and not mentioning marriage at all. At the end, she gave him the ultimatum: I've been enjoying our time together, but I'm old fashioned and can't keep seeing you without being engaged. April could not wait to tell us his response. If marrying you is the only way I can see you more, let's do it. Ooh, nice, huh? The difference between Alyssa's and April's story is rules broken along the way. Regardless, the only way to know if a guy is planning to marry you is to ask his intentions, assuming everything else is good. Now, you have to have been dating him for at least a year before you do this, okay? And it has to have been exclusive all that time, pretty much. A year and a half, that kind of thing. Rules, girls, don't waste time. A guy who says he loves you but can't marry you for any reason simply doesn't love you enough. Cut your losses and find someone who does see a future with you, no matter what else is going on in his life. Now, I want to stop for a moment to say that there are men who will love you. You will find that, and you can find that that is a new thing. But if he doesn't love you enough to marry you, then you don't want him. You really, really deserve better. Okay? Happily ever after is the next section. We love happy endings. We constantly get wedding announcements from rules girls around the world, and even have a success story section on our website. Here's one of our favorite stories, which we heard as we were writing this book. Our client Tracy was in the Swiss Alps pretending to enjoy skiing. Todd, her boyfriend of 13 months, whisked her away to Switzerland for a 4-day weekend to celebrate her 33rd birthday. Pretending to like skiing. Tracy wanted to celebrate with a sparkly diamond ring on her finger. She also hated skiing and had nothing to wear, but we told her to go anyway. She begrudgingly agreed and promised to check in with us on her BlackBerry. Weeks earlier, she had asked his intentions, and he said that he didn't like having, quote, a gun put to his head, end quote. We told her not to react, but to keep in mind that guys will sometimes test you to see if you will let them propose the way they want to, or if you're going to be a difficult diva. Mm-hmm. Yeah, guys have the right to do that. They have the right to live the way they want to. And ask for what they want. They have the right to ask. They don't necessarily have the right to keep, but they have the right to ask, right? Okay, so the authors say, we have been working with Tracy ever since Todd we had been working with Tracy ever since Todd, 38, reached out to her on Match.com. The pretty brunette party planner had a history of whirlwind courtships that never panned out and was determined to do things differently this time. Tracy was on a strict boot camp plan, seeing Todd only twice a week, keeping texting to a minimum, and disappearing in between dates. Todd brought up the future in a general way, but made it crystal clear he was in no rush to get married, having been through a messy breakup with his live in ex girlfriend of 3 years. Hmm. Wasn't married before, but really had a tough breakup. Okay. Tracy's birthday came and went on the first night of the long weekend, but there was no ring in sight, just a romantic dinner. We told Tracy that it would be too predictable for Todd to propose during her birthday dinner, as most guys like to do it their way and surprise the woman of their dreams. The next day was even worse. She fell off the intermediate slope and tore a ligament in her ankle. She texted us from the mountaintop. I'm on crutches. I can't ski. Can I go home now? He is so not proposing. We were sorry about her ankle, but told her to just finish out the trip, lest he think she was crazy and marriage obsessed. We assured her that if he didn't propose by the end of the weekend, she could say, I'm old fashioned and don't believe in dating for more than a year and a half without a ring and wedding date. And then take a break. After all, he was 38, not 28. 2 days later, we got an email from Tracy saying, he did it! I'm so happy! Details to come. On the last night of the trip, during a romantic dinner at a mountaintop restaurant, Todd said his jacket felt heavy, and she responded it was probably because it's leather. He said, no, there's something in my pocket that's weighing it down, and pulled out a ring. Tracy, a fast talker from LA, was in such shock that she went into a trance and became speechless. Todd talked on about her future, and she could barely remember anything. So he proposed again, which was funny considering she had been wondering whether he was going to ask her at all. She wrote us, LOL. After proposing twice, he asked me, now will you return all my calls and texts? We wrote back, sure, whatever he wants. You were hard to get. Now be easy to be with. Be easy to be with. Why did we bring all this up? Because Tracy didn't always feel like doing the rules when she was working with us. She sometimes wanted to see Todd 5 times a week. She would have texted him and texted him back all day. She would have gone on a week-long trip to Europe with him after knowing him for only 3 months, and she might have lived with him as well. In other words, he asked her, and the authors told her not to. On her own, she might have screamed, skiing? Are you kidding me? Are you going to marry me or not? Or, I can't believe you didn't propose on my birthday. Without the rules, Tracy would have blown it, but Tracy played hard to get and got her Mr. Right. In other words, she called the authors every time she felt like saying something that would blow her top about the rules. She knew the rules. She knew the rules the rules for online dating, the rules time-tested secrets for capturing the heart of Mr. Right. She knew them and she had them memorized, and she called the authors. And that's how come she didn't do all those things that she was, that would have broken rules that the authors are talking about. Like ooh, she would have gone on a week-long trip to Europe. That would have been wrong, after only knowing him for 3 months. And she might have lived with him because he probably asked her, and she would have wanted to say, I can't believe you didn't propose on my birthday. It meant that she was inside, she was steaming and angry and kind of wondering and everything. You go through all these emotions because doing the rules is excruciatingly hard. But you get the guy in the end. I mean, how many women would have thought that, oh, if I turn around and walk away from him, then I've got him? Who thinks that? But that's how it works. That's exactly how it works. And the Rules Handbook, A Guide to Creating Loving and Lasting Relationships, teaches you more of all that. Okay. All right. I'll talk to you later. This is an O. This is a K. Old Kinderhook was the 8th president of the United States, Martin Van Buren. He wanted everything to be seen to its last virtuous end. Okay, old Kinderhook. That's where we get it. Okay.